Moving on into the second loser of the offseason now. We'll use loser in air quotes because they did make some moves, but they could have done a lot better.
And they're still a title contender.
And they're still a title contender. So we're talking about the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers, obviously, they had a lot of work to do after the embarrassing collapse of, that they had in the playoffs this past season. And with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard being on essentially 1-year deals at this point, you need to get your shit together to win a championship. The Clippers, they did make some additions in this offseason. They were able to re-sign Marcus Morris to a 4-year, $64 million deal.
Again, I don't know if that's a great move.
We saw what Marcus Morris did with the last big contract that he got. He forced his way out. So
you gave Marcus Morris $64 million for 4 seasons. Is that really a great deal for you? I don't know, because we've seen that Marcus Morris is. Ask a Celtics fan. I think that would be a more honest opinion of what they feel about Marcus Morris.
Yeah.
Marcus Morris, I think the idea of Marcus Morris outweighs what Marcus Morris actually is as a player. And don't get me wrong, he's still a good role player. But in terms of paying that guy $64 million for a 4-year deal, I don't know about that.
It's a little much. Moving on into the second edition, this one actually hurts a little bit for us. It hurts on a new level. So the Clippers were able to sign Serge Ibaka to a 2-year, $19 million contract.
They signed him for the mid-level.
They signed him for the mid-level. I mean, it stings for us because the Raptors could have offered him the exact same thing. Actually, they were offering him more. They were offering him 12 to 15 million for 1 year. But apparently Ibaka wanted that extra year.
I guess he will also want to go to more of a title contender. I can't really fault him for that.
We can't fault him.
But damn, bro, just Toronto for the Clippers,
this?
bro. For the Clippers.
You saw that Kawhi made this mistake last year, and what happened to him? Just saying.
I mean, they did sign Serge Ibaka to replace Montrezl Harrell, which it can be argued that, in fact, that's even a better, upgrade over Montrezl Harrell.
I mean, now you can move Zubac to the bench. And start Serge at center.
Well, unless they move Serge to the bench and keep starting Zubac, which might happen.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't personally do that. I think Serge is still a better player than Zubac.
Yeah, but in terms of bench role, it might be better for him. And then, as we were talking about, they acquired Luke Kennard in the Landry Shamet deal, which pretty much their only aim for that was the flexibility aspect of it, because of the fact that Landry Shamet, first of all, is on a smaller deal. And it can be argued him and Luke Kennard are going to fill the same roles. Yeah, but the fact is that Luke Kennard is on an expiring deal, so I guess that gives them more flexibility.
Yeah. I mean, and then lastly, they re-signed Patrick Patterson because why not re-sign Patrick Patterson? I don't know why they re-signed Patrick Patterson. But, yeah, based on the additions, you would say that, okay, it's a decent offseason for the Clippers. It wasn't too spectacular, but it wasn't too poor. Now we get into why the Clippers, it was a poor offseason. First of all, they let Montrezl Harrell go. That was already a big loss because you could have kept him onto your team, and he left you. He left you because you didn't show that you wanted to re-sign the guy. You also, let go of JaMychal Green. Again, another, piece on your team, another depth piece.
He was one of the best players for the Clippers,
and he signed for
cheap.
In
the playoffs. And he signed for pretty much $7.5 million per year to Denver. So it's a 2-year, $15 million deal.
Denver doesn't mind that. They got to replace
Jeremy
Grant with JaMychal Green. So a solid pickup for them. And then obviously they did lose out on Landry Shamet, which, again, Shamet is right now the better player than Luke Kennard, although they do play a very similar style. Breaking news. Sacramento signing Hassan Whiteside.
So he's going back to Sacramento.
He's going back to Sacramento. Just literally happened.
Okay move for them. I mean, but in terms of why I think this was not the greatest offseason for them, again, they didn't have a terrible offseason like the Pistons, right? There was no clear-cut losers in this offseason except for the Pistons, I think. But in terms of why the Clippers were not, did not have a successful offseason, I would say, first of all, they didn't get a point guard. They were interested in Rajon Rondo, which would have been a big pickup for them. They needed that point guard presence on the team to complement Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They didn't get their point guard. They lost 2 valuable bigs in JaMychal Green and Montrezl Harrell. So that's not great. And then as you were talking about before, they pretty much have 1 year left to make sure they win. They have to win a championship. And then I think even beyond that, what makes this offseason for them hurt even more is because of the fact that the rival had a great offseason, right? Down the hall.
And they just won the championship.
And they just got your 6th man of the year.
Like, at the end of the day, the best way I can say this is that the Clippers are in a very shitty situation right now as far as they got to win now. They don't really have assets. They don't have money. And they're letting guys go that they needed to retain in order to compete with a team like the Lakers. Like, apparently Chris Paul was interested in coming back to the Clippers. The problem is the Clippers didn't have enough assets to trade for Chris Paul because they traded away all their assets to the Thunder to acquire Paul George.
Yep. So they got the worst Paul.
Yeah, they did get the worst Paul.
But yeah, like the Clippers, I think, are in that situation of what the Raptors were in 2 years ago, where they have to win right now, but it's probably even worse considering they're in LA.
Well, no, not even that. The fact is the Raptors still had flexibility moving forward. They still had picks and assets that they can still move. The Clippers don't have any of that. Like, they don't have any of that.
They went all in on a championship. You got to respect the fact that they're willing to gamble to try to win that championship, and they're trying to go all in for it. But if you don't get it done, then it's all for nothing, right?
And you're still going to be the laughingstock. So,
you're still going to be that little brother down the hallway.
Yeah.